Gmail reads all of your emails, uses it for AI and advertising, but these three providers promise not to. Why you might want private email is to keep your data as well as other people in your lives' data safe. I've been running this channel for about 10 years now, and the three most common providers that I see brought up in the privacy sphere is Proton, Tuta, which used to be Tutanota, and Fastmail. All these providers vary by pricing, the amount of privacy they can guarantee, the features, and who they're even geared towards in the first place. And the goal of this video is for you all to walk away understanding the pros and cons of each provider. Let's start with privacy and security. To start with the zero knowledge, zero access question, this is the question of can they read my emails? Proton Mail and Tuta both offer zero knowledge encryption. This means they literally cannot read your emails, attachments, calendar, or contacts because the encryption happens on your device. Proton's gone even further and has demonstrated this in court because all they were able to do is provide non-content metadata like sign-up IP address and recovery emails, which are not covered under zero knowledge encryption. Tuta takes it a step further by also end-to-end encrypting your subject lines and a little bit more metadata by default. The crucial difference here is Fastmail, who is not zero knowledge for their email content. They need to access your email content on their servers for features like fast full text search, robust spam filtering, and efficient previews, as well as better account recovery options. They encrypt your data at rest and in transit, which is great for security, but even they admit they could theoretically access your emails if legally compelled. However, the distinction here is that their business model and the default is not to actually check and do anything with your emails, unlike literally any other mainstream free provider that you're probably already using. So there's a very different ethos, and they have an actual sustainable business model. Now, when we talk about zero knowledge and end-to-end encryption, it's important to talk about how these services do it. Proton uses OpenPGP, which has the benefit of being interoperable, but it's not the most secure method. Tuta does not integrate and is not interoperable with PGP, but it does do better encryption and has extra protection. But you'll only get it with other Tuta users unless, like Proton, you do a password encrypted email. Fastmail doesn't do PGP in the web clients, but if you're using a third-party client, you can use PGP. I'd say as a whole, Proton takes the most balanced approach, Tuta takes the more privacy-respecting approach, and Fastmail takes the most convenient approach. And both Tuta and Fastmail have very good reasons for why they do what they do, with Fastmail citing 2 reasons they don't even bother with end-to-end encryption. None of these providers are wrong. They actually all bring up valid points. They're just taking different approaches, so it's important for you to see which resonates best with you. Jurisdiction is where your data lives and where laws might apply. Proton Mail is currently Switzerland, who ironically is going through a bit of a privacy scare at the moment, and Proton seems to be at least considering moving to the EU. Tuta is based in Germany, which overall has strong privacy laws, and Fastmail is based in Australia. This is a significant concern for some privacy maximalists. Fastmail does publish transparency reports detailing data requests, and they notify users when legally permitted. Next up, if you want anonymous signups. Proton Mail allows anonymous signups. I will say in theory, practically though, it's gonna be pseudo-anonymous. A lot of times they're gonna request a valid recovery email or something, and they're a little bit iffy about Tor traffic. Tuta also allows anonymous signup, and you can pay with Monero as well. Fastmail did frustrate me a bit because it requires a phone number to register, and none of my VoIP services like Google Voice were accepted, but I did find a workaround. If you register for Fastmail on mobile and you pay for your subscription when you're registering, then they don't require a phone number to set up the account. They will, however, still request a number to set up 2FA, which I find a bit silly, but you can use a VoIP number when registering for 2FA, at least at the time of making this video. I wish to let you register online without a phone number by just paying your way into an account. They don't support crypto payments, and they state they don't sell your data and are not ad supported, but their business model is clearer, which is you're just paying for their service. They do log standard logs for operational purposes, but not for profiling. In terms of security features, multi-factor authentication, all three providers support TOTP. Proton and Tuta support hardware keys for stronger phishing resistance, and Fastmail also supports hardware keys and has embraced passkeys. In terms of account security, all offer standard protections like brute force prevention and suspicious login notifications. All offer spam and phishing protection, at least on paper. They have some filtering, but Fastmail is realistically just going to have better spam filtering because it's not end-to-end encrypted, and they can do a lot more cool things on their servers. In terms of being open source and audits, Proton Mail has their client applications, which are open source, and they undergo independent security audits, and they have a public bug bounty program. Tuta, all client code, including web, desktop, and mobile, is fully open source with regular independent penetration tests, and they actually go out of their way for some things like private CAPTCHAs and push notification services to avoid third-party dependencies, and it's why they're just natively on app stores like F-Droid. Fastmail, on the other hand, is not open source source, but they are fairly transparent about their internal security practices, policies, and they publish data transparency reports. They rely on audits for their infrastructure, but not their code. Before we touch on user experience and the interface, to just quickly summarize that section, Proton and Tuta approach this from a zero knowledge, they don't want to know anything about you approach, whereas Fastmail approaches this from a privacy-focused but not zero knowledge approach. In terms of jurisdiction, you have Switzerland versus Germany versus Australia, and they all have slight differences from there. Let's talk about the user experience, and I want to start with performance, speed, and reliability, which is something I'm always looking for in an email client. Proton Mail is generally reliable, the interface responsiveness is good, but it can feel a lot slower than something like Fastmail, especially with large encrypted mailboxes or initial loads. They have improved this over the years, but it's still noticeable. Tuta's made significant improvements as well over the years, but I still find it to be pretty sluggish to use, but it's still fine and fully usable. Fastmail is known for being lightning fast and exceptional, and this is often cited as a key reason why people choose it. I mean, it's literally called Fastmail. The apps are snappy, emails send and receive quickly, and they just have a strong uptime. The web interface for Proton is clean, modern, and intuitive. They finally have an awesome system theme, which I'm really excited about. It does feel premium, and they have good customization options, and they've built this up really well over the years. Tuta is very minimalist and has a distinct design. It's functional, but at least to me, can feel a bit too simple and less feature-rich visually. Fastmail, I think, has a great interface, and if you're coming from Gmail, I honestly think in a lot of ways it's just an upgraded Gmail experience. If we migrate to the mobile apps, Proton has a dedicated iOS and Android app, generally well designed, and it has good push notifications. The apps focus on core email without many bells and whistles, and don't expect fancy widgets or a really quality email search. This is an end-to-end encryption limitation because they don't do it on the server end. Tuta's pretty similar. They have fully featured native apps for iOS and Android. They're pretty well designed for the end-to-end encrypted experience on mobile, and you're gonna find some similar issues that you find on the Proton Mail side of things. On Fastmail, you're gonna find iOS and Android apps that I do find to be a bit more speedy, responsive, and to have better feature parity with the web version. All the settings and advanced features are typically accessible, and I had good push notification experiences here as well. One important thing here is that Fastmail bakes their entire suite into the single app, so you have everything in one place, whereas Proton does not do that, and Tuta still doesn't do that with it between their email and their calendar. I'm not sure which approach is better, it just seems to be pros and cons, but I will say Fastmail did integrate everything in one app extremely smoothly, and it does work very nicely. Now, if we go back to desktop and we talk about desktop clients, this is gonna vary a lot between these providers. So Proton Mail, historically, you had to use their Proton Mail bridge to access Proton via Outlook, Thunderbird, Apple Mail, etc. And this is a workaround, and it required a paid Proton account. Proton now does have a pretty nice native desktop client that I really enjoy using. Tuta has offered a dedicated, fully open source desktop client for Windows, macOS, and Linux for quite a while, and it is important to note, this is really important, Tuta does not support standard IMAP, SMTP, POP3 connections due to their proprietary encryption. You simply can't use third-party clients with Tuta. In terms of Fastmail, this is gonna be a bit more typical. You're gonna have native support for standard IMAP, POP3, and SMTP. Areas like this is where the lack of end-to-end encryption in Fastmail really does make the service excel a little bit better. Now, it's important to talk about import and migration because for a lot of you out there, you might have years of data in Gmail and you wanna be able to actually move to these providers. Proton offers an easy switch tool that can import emails, contacts, and calendars from Gmail, Outlook, and other providers. The process is mostly automated, though large mailboxes can take quite a bit of time due to encryption processing. Tuta provides import tools for emails and contacts, but the process is quite a bit more manual than Proton. You'll typically need to export from your old provider first, then import to Tuta. Fastmail's migration is by far the smoothest and easiest because there is no encryption processing needed. Search functionality is next, and if you're coming from something like Gmail, you've probably never thought about your search because the search just kind of works. But when you have encryption, that's not always the case. So with Proton, search functionality exists, but for the content of your encrypted emails, it relies on client-side indexing. What this means is that when you set it up, your browser or the Bridge app builds a local index of your decrypted emails right there on your device. It works well, but initial indexing can take time if you have a larger email inbox. Tuta is similar to Proton. It has full text search on encrypted content, which is achieved via their locally built encrypted search index within the app or the browser. This is going to be another big plus for Fastmail because they access content on their servers, and so Fastmail offers extremely fast and powerful server-side search and no local indexing delays. In terms of offline access, they all support offline emails in their native clients, so you should not have too much of an issue
issue here with any of these providers.
To recap the overall experience, in terms of speed, we have Fastmail, and then Proton and Tuta to me are pretty much similar. In terms of mobile apps, they're all fairly good with different strengths and approaches, so I would go ahead and try them out and see which works best for you. In terms of desktop, you have Fastmail that you can use with literally any client or in the web. With Proton, you have their bridge, or now you have their new dedicated clients. Or with Tuta, you literally only have their apps. You can't use third-party clients. And when it comes to search, you're gonna have Fastmail that is just objectively better than Proton and Tuta, which is gonna be much faster because it's server end, whereas Proton and Tuta are locally indexed. The next section is about functionality and ecosystems. Scheduled sending, Proton has this on paid plans, so you can send later. Tuta does not have this, and Fastmail has a well-implemented scheduled send feature. If you wanna undo send, ProtonMail lets you configure a window. Tuta does not have this yet, and then Fastmail also has a window that you can configure in both web and mobile. In terms of templates, Proton still doesn't have templates, which is personally like my most requested feature for ProtonMail. Tuta does have email templates, and Fastmail also has templates. In terms of custom domains, all three support custom domains across their paid plans, so you can use your own email. Productivity tools, they all offer your standard features like folders, labels for organization, filtering rules, and custom signatures. One new kind of privacy tech that's really been normalized in the last several years that I'm really excited about is email aliases, and fortunately, all three have a layer of this. Proton makes this simple to create, and it's good for managing different online identities, and it integrates with simple login. You can actually use simple login independently of ProtonMail. Tuta provides a generous number of aliases on their higher tiers, and Fastmail offers a robust alias system, including masked email, which integrates with 1Password and Bitwarden to generate unique random aliases for your online services. In terms of calendars, Proton Calendar is a fully integrated end-to-end encrypted calendar into Proton Mail. So events, titles, participants, and even reminders are encrypted. While Proton Calendar has greatly improved over the years, I just wouldn't expect it to be quite the same as what you'd expect from Google Calendar. I think the end-to-end encryption has added a lot of complexity, and it's just not quite there on features. Tuta Calendar is also a fully integrated end-to-end encrypted calendar with Tuta that encrypts all event data, including participants and notifications. It supports multiple calendars and secure sharing, and like Proton, has dedicated calendar apps for mobile. And also like Proton, I wouldn't quite compare this to something like Google Calendar. It's just not quite there yet. Fastmail has an integrated calendar with a clean interface. It supports CalDAV for syncing with third-party apps, and it's fast and user-friendly, but not end-to-end encrypted for event details. It supports importing from other services like Google and iCloud, and I find this to overall be the best calendar of the three services. Another part of the ecosystem you probably don't think about much is your contacts. Proton has integrated end-to-end encrypted contacts, which supports importing and organizing into groups. I will say it is very limited because it doesn't integrate with your local operating system. So what ends up happening is you have like Proton contacts, and it's not even synced to your phone locally, so you almost have to manage two different contact lists. Tuta has an integrated end-to-end encrypted contact manager. All contact data is encrypted, and they do offer bidirectional contact sync with your local operating system, at least on mobile, I believe, which for me is a massive improvement over Proton's approach to contacts. Fastmail is going to work quite a bit more like Google's contacts. It's just integrated and it's all one address book. It uses CardDAV for syncing, very functional, but no end-to-end encryption, so you're kind of giving up that. But again, it's at least from a privacy-oriented company, even if they're not privacy first. Files, I'm going to make this very simple.
Tuta's teased Tuta Drive, but it's still to be decided when that's going to come out, and Fastmail does have basic files, especially in the mobile app. It's pretty nice to use.
Proton does have Proton Drive with encrypted cloud storage. You can do file sharing, versioning, and document editing on paid plans, and it's not a bad ecosystem. It's been developing pretty nicely these last few years. A few other ecosystem integrations here. So Proton just as a whole has this whole Proton ecosystem that includes Proton VPN, Proton Pass, which is their password manager, and it's all designed pretty much with the same threat model in mind. Tuta's more focused on just the core critical things you need to get done. They're not looking to build this massive ecosystem. They just have contacts, they have email, and they have calendar, and they seem to do a pretty decent job with all three of them. If you really want a recent update that separates Proton and Tuta, Proton is proudly integrating AI and even released this cat AI Lumo, whereas Tuta has firmly committed to never including AI in their email. See if they stick to that, but yes, that just kind of speaks to the difference in company cultures. And then there's Fastmail, which overall does what Tuta does, which is it just gets the basics correct, but Fastmail does do a better job with third-party integration. So you're gonna see things like 1Password, Bitwarden, Dropbox, and other tools that are compatible with Fastmail and make Fastmail almost a bit of an ecosystem, but using third-party services. I'm not gonna spend too much time on this, but all three of them have custom branding if you have a business and you want your business to be in the email experience. And then there's import-export in terms of data portability. This is a really important talking point that you guys need to listen to, because what if one of these providers goes to crap in a year? Proton has an easy switch tool for bringing data from Gmail, Outlook, and other providers, which handles emails, contacts, and calendars automatically. However, their export is a bit iffy. So you can export emails via their Proton Mail export tool, which honestly felt a bit dirty to use. Like, it's a CLI only tool. I don't know if this is an intentional dark pattern, but it did just feel sucky to use this. If all you need is email, it's probably easier to get the Proton Mail bridge and just manually drag your emails to another provider, which shouldn't be the easier approach if you actually have a dedicated export tool. Just saying. Tuta for the longest time didn't offer a clean export, but they did recently release one for their desktop clients, so you can now do a full export in a standard readable format. This is a bit cleaner and a bit easier to use than Proton's, but I did have some stability issues using it 1 or 2 times, but that was when it was in beta, so I'm just gonna write that off as being a beta issue. And then when we come to Fastmail, we already talked about the import, and when it comes to export, they have full IMAP access, so you can easily back up or migrate your mailbox, again, using any email clients like Proton can do via the bridge. They also provide direct export tools and clearly state that your data belongs to you and is easily accessible. So to summarize, in terms of templates, they all have it except Proton. All of them have aliases with different approaches. Calendars, they all have them, but Proton and Tuta are actually encrypted, whereas Fastmail is not. And when it comes to data export, you're gonna have Fastmail, which is pretty easy, Tuta, which makes it easy in your desktop clients, and then Proton, which makes it a bit more annoying. So let's talk about pricing. And this is gonna be variable because these people are always changing prices. They're gonna have discounts. It's gonna be cheaper. It's gonna be more expensive. But unlike free services that just mine your data, these are all paid services, and that's a good thing. This means that you're actually paying for a service and you don't have any other incentives other than to keep your data safe and just give you clean email. With that said, Proton and Tuta offer a free and very basic plan for you to just get started and see if you like them. Keep in mind they will delete free accounts if you don't log in for several months, so make sure you're actually using it. Fastmail does not have a free tier, but they have a 30-day free trial, which gives you features to test it out. In terms of individual plans to get started, Proton Mail has Mail Plus and Proton Unlimited, so they have kind of like their low-end subscription, and then they have their full-blown ecosystem subscription, which is definitely what they want to push you to use. And if you're going to use more than email, this might be what you're realistically going to end up using. You can keep that awkward section in there. Tuta has Revolutionary and Legend, which is, again, kind of like their basic, what you need to get started plan. And then they have their Legend, which is quite a bit more storage, which I think will be more useful if they release Tuta Drive someday. And then with Fastmail, you have Basic, Standard, and Professional. Basic is kind of just like what you need to get started. Keep in mind, the Basic does not allow IMAP and POP3 access, so you only have access to their official web and their native clients. Standard, from what I can tell, seems to be their most pushed and most popular plan, which has pretty much all the features you'd want. And then Professional has a few extra fancy features if that speaks more to you. All of them have family and business plans that you can also consider, which could bring your prices a bit lower depending on who you are. So in terms of value and pricing, Proton is definitely the winner when it comes to like an integrated privacy ecosystem. So if you're looking for more than email, you also want a VPN, you want email, you want drive storage, you want a password manager, and you just want to pay one company and be done with it, I think it's going to be really hard to beat the value of Proton. I actually made a budget privacy video here, which goes from totally free privacy to like $15 a month privacy. And Proton was a very effective way to do things and actually knocks off a lot of the privacy tools you need for basic privacy out there, and free services can fill in the rest. Tuta offers excellent value when it comes to just a pure, uncompromised, end-to-end encrypted email and calendar experience. You're getting really solid performance and it's a very good value, but that's all you're getting. Fastmail is going to be the best value if maybe you're someone who's using email a lot, you're a professional, you want a more premium experience, you're willing to give up a bit of that privacy for where Fastmail really excels, which is in the speed, usability, feature set, etc. So to put this whole video together and give you my formal verdict to help you decide which email client is best for you, you've probably already got the vibe that this video is not designed to just push you towards one provider. And if it did, then maybe that's the provider you should choose, but that wasn't the intention. This This video is about values and priorities and what you need and want out of an email provider. Proton Mail is best for the ecosystem. If you want a comprehensive set of privacy tools like email, VPN, Drive, Password Manager all under one roof, and you want to simplify your privacy journey to just one provider, that's what you want. The trade-offs for Proton: you're committing to an ecosystem, and some usability aspects like contact sync, the export process, non-end-to-end encrypted subject lines might require adjustments. They're trying to do it all, so they're not going to do everything perfectly. They are still evolving, and I hope this gets better, but this is a valid trade-off right now. And I have these stories in the script here to kind of like paint a picture. So Proton in action. You get a suspicious email, so you check if the sender's domain is sketchy using Proton VPN. You save any important attachments to your encrypted Proton drive and store the sender's details when you verify they're legit in Proton Pass to remember they're trustworthy, all without leaving the Proton ecosystem. We're trusting multiple companies with your data. Tuta, I think, is the best for just someone who only is looking for email and they want the best and most private kind of experience with their email. You're gonna get end-to-end encryption that protects subject lines, you're gonna get full metadata protection, and it's coming from a grassroots organization that has a really good track record in the privacy space, and they even support really cool things like Monero. In terms of trade-offs, remember that this proprietary encryption of theirs means less interoperability with standard PGP, and they have some limitations when it comes to just general usability. Their UI is very minimalist, and it might not appeal to everyone, so at minimum, I would definitely tell everyone to try out Proton free and Tuta free to make sure that they actually click with you before you buy them. Tuta in action. You email your lawyer about divorce settlement meeting tomorrow. Other services would encrypt the email content but leave that subject line readable to anyone with server access. Tuta, though, encrypts everything. Even law enforcement would just see encrypted gibberish for the subject line, not just the email body. And with Tuta, you're not incentivized to use any particular services in its ecosystem. Combine it with anything else, even Proton VPN or Proton Pass if you wanted to. Everything we do is fully open source on F-Droid, and we even develop our own push notification system. Yeah, I think Tuta is just like grassroots, humble privacy org. So they're cool. Fastmail is there if you're looking for a blazing fast, highly reliable, feature-rich email experience that's as close as possible to like a premium Gmail. It's also really for people who are only comfortable with their data being encrypted in transit and at rest, but not zero knowledge, and they're saving those sensitive conversations that need more privacy and security for things like Signal and other properly safe lockdown places to chat. In terms of trade-offs, again, you're gonna have that end-to-end encryption as well as the Australian jurisdiction. If you want novel privacy tech, just probably isn't where you're going to find it. Fastmail in action. You're looking for that contract your client sent 3 months ago. You typed contract Johnson Q3 and instantly get results from your email content, attachments, and all other information. Then you drag it to a folder, set up a filter to auto-organize future emails from that client, and create a template response all in under 1 minute. The script says 2, I think 1. And this will cleanly carry over to mobile as well, and then you message them on Signal with your sensitive conversations, and you have a meeting over on Signal, because that's where you should have the meeting. So yeah, all these services have pros and cons, and in terms of the future, Proton is constantly developing their ecosystem. I just made a video on Lumo AI, which is their new AI. They not too long ago released standard notes integration, and they have ongoing drive and pass improvements, and I'm just gonna say it because I'm gonna get a million comments about it. Yes, hopefully also Proton Drive for Linux. Tuta right now seems focused on refining their core products and building some really cool privacy tech in the background, and I'd love to see them release their drive storage because they've been teasing that for a while. Fastmail, as far as I can tell, continues to just improve the UI UX and the performance, and hopefully we'll see some other cool features down the road. I guess time will tell. Now, regardless, all of these services offer a way for you to try them out for free, so I would definitely try them out down in the description. And full transparency, we have affiliate links with these providers, but I don't want you to feel pressure to click any of them. You'll see both an affiliate and a standard link down there, and if you do decide to purchase one, I would gladly ask you to use one of those links because it really does support this channel. It allows us to make free content like this, which is as objective as I can make it, and I hope that it gives something back to you guys so that you can make the best decision for yourself. If you already have one of these email providers or you want to support us even more, you can also become a Techlorian, which is how you just directly contribute to us on a monthly basis. You can do that via Patreon, or you can do it via our forum, which is pretty much directly through us. It's got less fees, you don't have to go through Patreon, and it's as direct as you can possibly make it in the digital space. I'll leave links to all of that down in the description, but no matter what, I just want to thank you for being here, learning a bit about privacy and security tech, and taking your digital rights journey a little bit more. What? And taking your digital rights journey a little bit more seriously. See you all next time on Techlore.